If you want to know how to stuff a piece of dough and make a stuffed ciabatta with pulled pork, cheese, and spicy barbecue sauce, you came to the tastiest place to find out. Guitar freaks and anorex, lovers of the wood-fired oven. Thanks for tuning in and welcome to Hilko Cuisine. People. When I was building my oven years ago, some people said to me, why are you putting all that effort into an oven to just make pizza? And I had to reply to them, people, listen carefully. A wood-fired oven is not only made to make pizza. You can make a whole lot of other stuff in there. And I will prove it to you today in this video. Today, I am baking a stuffed ciabatta bread. Stuffed with some goodness. Some really nice goodness. You can stuff ciabatta with whatever you like. You can do it with vegetables. You can do it with chicken. You can do it with love. But today, I'm doing it with pork. Pulled pork. The sandwich is amazing and you have to try it. If you don't, you will regret it. But anyhow, people, are we ready to stuff some bread? Let's do this, shall we? Before we start baking our stuffed ciabatta, we have to make some pulled pork. And we start the night before we bake, people, because we have to season our meat. This is half a bostonpot, or in Dutch is it spieringgebraad. That was enough for the crazy language. We season the meat with Hilko's hot salt and some pepper. Be generous and cover both sides. Once it's all seasoned up, you whack that into the fridge. The next day, we started off with firing up our ugly drum smoker, people, and we need some smoke to smoke the pulled pork. As a smoke wood, I'm using beechwood. Beechwood is a lovely wood to smoke with. Just add 2 small pieces, close the ugly drum smoker again, and guess what? Wait till it starts smoking. Once you got a good smoke, you whack in that meat, people. The temperature I'm using is 115 degrees Celsius, and that's about 240 Fahrenheit, people. Once that's in, you let that go for a couple of hours and you check your oven that you baked pizzas in the day before. Please note that my oven is well insulated, people. So the day before, you whack in a couple of pieces of wood and you close it up. You let it go all night. If you don't have a wood-fired pizza oven, people, you just bake it in your normal kitchen oven. Obviously, we have to get rid of all the coals and ashes from the burn the day before. So that's what we're doing here. Get it all out and check the temperature. It's 350 degrees Celsius, so that's way too hot to bake the bread. The oven will cool down a bit in the next 8 to 10 hours, so plenty of time for our pork. In contrast of our wood-fired oven, our ugly drum smoker is going low and slow. After 5 hours, I'm ready to wrap up this piece of pork, and I'm adding some fine craft Belgian beer. But before we add it, we have to taste it. If it's good enough for you, it's good enough for our meat. Together with our very fine craft beer, we are adding some spicy barbecue sauce, Hilko's spicy barbecue sauce. And if you think that was enough for flavor enhancers, you were wrong. We are adding our rosemary from the garden and some extra Hilko's hot salt. Yummy. All the party animals are in, so we can wrap our package up. Wrap it up real good. And obviously let it go in a drum smoker for another few hours. How many? Till the meat is nice and tender. So here we are 4 hours later and we're gonna check out our meat, the tenderness. You can do that by poking in the temperature gauge and you can read off the temperature, but you can also feel it when you stick it in. This piece is 92 degrees and I've got a good feeling about it, so I let it rest for an hour. And after the very important resting time, unwrap it and look at it. You did great. Now it's pulling time. I like to remove the meat from the tray and whack that juice through a sieve because I don't really like those Christmas tree needles mixed up with my pulled pork later. So put it through a sieve or do whatever you like. And now you can pull that pork. It's very easy. You just take 2 forks or by hand, but it's pretty hot and it should go really easy. If it doesn't go easy, you didn't smoke it long enough and you will be very sad. There is a bit much juice with the meat, so I'll remove it. I can always add some later. I don't want to have that pulled pork too wet. I have to stuff it in between some dough au la. Once you're happy with the wetness or dryness of the meat, you can start pulling again. You pull it real good and you let it cool down completely. And now we move over to our dough. Speaking of dough, I always wanted to say that we are using just my standard pizza dough. It's a nice and airy dough and just perfect for those little stuffed wonders that we will bake later. Before we can do the stuffing, we have to lay out the dough a bit. Don't go crazy. Don't go too crazy like pizza crazy, but just make it bigger, a little bit bigger, so you can put the stuffing inside before you wrap that piece of goodness up. Just do what I do here. Once you got something similar to this, it's time to open up that really nice packed up pulled pork, people, and you put that on top of the dough. Just a few pieces. And when you think you have to adjust the dough a bit, please do it now. And then add some more pieces of that nicely smoked meat. Pork only would be very boring. I am adding some low moisture mozzarella to this lovely sandwich. And after this very low moisture mozzarella, we need some, guess what? Spicy barbecue sauce to make it saucy and sweet and tangy and obviously spicy. We like spicy. Spicy is good, spicy is healthy, and spicy is tasty. Everybody knows that. Anywho, time to wrap up this party. You stretch out the sides of the dough a bit and then you fold it over to itself. You roll it up and you fold up those 2 ends underneath the dough, people, and then you place it seam side down. Rinse and repeat with all the amount of the stuffed pockets you want to make. If you want, you can bake it straight away, but my oven isn't ready. I would strongly advise you to let bread rise a bit after shaping. You get a more and airy bread. So cover it up and wait for like 30 minutes to an hour. So bye-bye dough and hello oven. It's been about 45 minutes. We have to clean the oven before we whack in those little breads. You can see how much ashes are in there. We don't want ashy bread. We want airy, nicely clean bread. So we clean up the oven. We clean it up real good. And real good means take a wet towel and mop that floor. Not once, but mop it twice. Once your oven floor is nice and clean, it's time to shoot in the bread. We do this with the bread shooting tool, and you know where to get that if you don't have it. And you must be wondering, why the hell did he tape his phone to that pole? Well, this is why. This is the footage from the other angle. Pretty crappy, but I don't have the budget for another camera. Anyhow, you can always sponsor me if you want. After all the bread is in, you close up the oven. Once the oven is closed, you have to bake those loaves for about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on your oven temperature. Mine is 240 degrees Celsius. For the Fahrenheit lovers, that's 460. After 15 minutes, do a peeky boo. Check out the loaves. Nothing is burning, but they're still looking a bit pale, so close up the oven again and set your timer for another 5 minutes. After the 5 minutes, well, open up the oven again and do a double checky check. The loaves in the back are done, and the ones in the front, they need a bit more baking time. Moving the unbaked ones to the side, I can reach to the baked ones, so I can grab them and take them out. Place them on a cooling rack. Very important, let them cool on a cooling rack. Give the ones that needed a little bit more baking time another 5 minutes. So close up that oven and let them go. 5 more minutes. People, remember to subscribe and hit the tinkly bell icon if you want to get notified when a new video is available. I'm getting the last loaves out and it's time to enjoy our hard-working day with some fine wine and some tasty stuffed ciabatta bread. Thank you all so much for watching and enjoy the end of the summer. People, for now, I'm saying goodbye.